in relocation, you tend to learn something new every day because you work with all types of people. People who care and want to keep helping others are very important in our business.
How important is it to have a plan for career development for your organization? I imagine you can't just wing it. Welcome to Relocation Leader. I'm Zac Turbes, Director of Marketing and Communications at NEI Global Relocation. We have with us Randy Wilson, CEO and President of NEI Global Relocation. And today we have an interesting topic, a good episode. It's our inaugural episode of Relocation Leader, and we're going to be talking about continuing education, and what that means to the relocation professional. So Randy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? What do you do?
Well, as you said, I'm the CEO and President of NEI Global Relocation. I was one of the consultants that helped the company get started. So I was in relocation for about 5 years before that. Now a total of, 40 something. So it's been a while, and I've learned a lot of things along the way. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you about it today.
So how has relocation changed over the course of time that you've been doing what you do in relocation?
It's become much more expansive. So we started out buying homes and selling homes, and that's all we did. And today we probably have, 35, 40 services that we provide. So we provide a lot of support to our clients whenever they have a task or a function that they need done and they don't have headcount or time. A lot of times that's how we pick up new businesses.
Nice. So the topic today is continuing education.
Yes.
And with regards to continuing education in business, broadly speaking, what has it meant to you to continue your education throughout your career and developing the careers of others?
Well, I think that learning is an important thing that you need to do every day, whether it's something you learn for personal development or something that you learn for your job or something that you learn just for life in general, because every piece of your life will affect the other and you'll benefit from it. Now, in relocation, you tend to learn something new every day if you don't learn 2 or 3 things new every day, because you work with all types of people who are running mega corporations, people who are on production lines, and and people from all over the world, different countries, different cultures. You just get so much exposure to things, and you get to learn every day.
Is there a time in your life or in your business career when the learning curve seemed really steep?
I was fortunate to grow up in the business, so to speak. We took on household goods, then we took on helping people find new homes, then we took on household goods, then we took on expense tracking, and then we took on, the international. So I get to learn it as I went. For individuals that come into the business today, it's a lot, and the learning curve is huge. So we always factor that in. They don't believe us when we hire them. That's going to take a while, and we're going to give them, the opportunity to learn, and they need to give themselves a break so that they can learn it.
How important is it to have a plan for career development for your organization? I imagine you can't just wing it.
No. We put a lot of value in career development and in learning our business, our industry, and personal development. We have the NEI University so that everybody has the opportunity to take classes on the services we provide, the needs of our clients. There's some management training. We even have etiquette training, business etiquette training, because that's very helpful when you're meeting clients and when you're going into meetings. So we put a lot of value on it. And we have in our performance, when we do quarterly performance reviews with our employees, we're talking about goals all the time. What's the next step? And that's the best way to make sure you have a lot of strength in your organization and you can handle succession planning. You can plan for the unexpected.
So when I think about continuing education, it's not just vocational training. There's a lot that goes into education that's sort of beyond just learning the technical aspects of your position. Does anything come to mind when you're thinking along those lines, as far as like, how do you get a fully orbed professional development program put together where you're not just training people to do a job, but to like think about how to be a professional in whatever job they do? There
are a couple of avenues that we use. The first is you start with the technical training. That's so you can become productive on the first day and you feel like you're contributing, right? But what's important to us is also teaching what I call the why. It's easy to do something, but it's hard to relate that to another piece of the function without knowing why you're doing it and how you're affecting, somebody who's taken the next step after that, or how the relocating families, that might be great that you just set them up to talk to the household goods provider, but you really need to take that next step with the follow-ups, with the explanations. So we do a lot of training on the why. And again, that gives them a much broader aspect of the business. And then we take opportunities to help develop in those, all I can think of right now is a social type setting where you're meeting with either prospective clients, you're meeting with our current clients, or you're meeting with service partners, because we all work together in this. And so that's where the business etiquette comes in. That gives you your foundation on how to meet with those individuals, how to present yourself with confidence. So as I said, we put a lot into it, and we want to help our employees become well-rounded.
It's my, I'm 2 years into this industry, and for me, it's a very social industry.
Yes,
you can't get away from the fact that you work with tons of people to help tons of people, and I think of many examples of the people that I relate to on a daily basis, and Philip, one of our client development reps. He started out as an AE, and what he did as an AE, an account executive working with transferees, I feel like prepared him super well for his current task right now. Are there any other examples in your mind that sort of display how growing in that social awareness has translated well, into career development?
I'd like us to take credit for Philip, but Philip has a certain personality to begin with, right? Yeah. So he's a bit of a natural for that environment. However, we have a lot of individuals in our organization that will move from one department to a totally different department. It always surprises me with somebody who's in the expense management or the accounting, a very numbers-oriented, wants to move into operations, which is very people-oriented. Maybe into IT. We have individuals that we train up throughout the organization, and they go into places where you think, I never expected that. So,
what is it about NEI specifically? Because I notice that there is a ton of people who are hired internally here, more so than where I used to work. And so I'm just wondering, that has to be a business philosophy.
Yes, it is. So when you say hire internally, you're talking about promotions or maybe even lateral moves when they want to get into a whole different line of the business. And that has been our model from the beginning. When you start out as more of an operational company, you want to make sure you always have depth. And in order to grow, you have to have I'll use a term that you would probably relate to, which is next man up, right? There always has to be somebody ready for either that new business, or if the individual gets sick or decides to move. Nowadays, if they move, we can still keep them in most cases. But in the old days, if you moved, it was harder to retain you as an employee.
So how do you work with managers, though, when you're coaching them up to operate within that NEI philosophy of like, we're going to invest in our people and make sure that they are well trained and capable to to have success in a variety of roles. And since that's your business philosophy, I imagine you don't have one-on-ones with everyone in the organization, so coaching up a leadership team, how does that look, that may be different than coaching up some of those other positions?
Well, when we do it in doses, we do pretty much everything in doses, right? Because it's much easier to learn, to comprehend, and you need to gain some experiences. Sometimes individuals think, oh, I have all the technical pieces down, I'm ready to move up. What they don't have are the other, 4,500 nuances that go along with that particular situation. That's just one situation. So when I'll give you an example of an account executive maybe moving into an operations account manager. When they go into that role, it's a bit of a hybrid. It is some managing of people, account executives, who they're really familiar with those processes. And then it is still doing some of the work that they did as an account executive, maybe working with high-level individuals. So their director is working with them on how to manage people. And it's a bit 50-50 in the beginning until they take over that position in full of managing individuals. And then to become a director, you're being trained up because now your book of business and the people that you work with, it's just growing. So when we're working in an operational aspect, that's a very successful model for us. It has been since day one. When you're talking about maybe moving up in IT, that's a very specialty, right? And you may or may not, if you want to take, I'm not the greatest in IT, but if you want to go from being a network person who's working on all the infrastructure in the network over to being somebody who works on an agile team that's getting involved in development, that's quite a leap. So there has to be some progression for that. It's not necessarily going to happen in one fell swoop. So we'll figure out what that progression is and start developing that individual to move into that other position.
So I have this quote from John F. Kennedy, and I really love it. And the quote goes like this: leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. Mm-hmm. And I think, this podcast is called Relocation Leader, with the goal of, advancing professionals, and especially professionals in global mobility. Mm-hmm. And so since we all want to be leaders here, why is continuing to learn indispensable to leadership?
Well, because when people are looking to you to guide them through a situation, it might be a problem, it might be a challenge, it might just be something that's new, you have to be aware of how to help them make that transition. So you have to be a step ahead always, right? You have to be able to gather enough information about whether it's the business world, whether it's the relocation industry, whether it's cultures around the world, and you just have to be ready. So you spend a lot of time reading so that you can always be helpful in those aspects of their work.
I think a huge danger to professionals in general is thinking that they know it all. Mm-hmm. Like I think that one of the things about being a consummate learner, somebody who continues their education, you first have to kind of understand that you don't know everything, right? And that you're not going to operate on your own steam. And then that gives you the humility to then start being curious, asking questions, trying to figure out what are the issues, what am I unaware of, and trying to sort of connect the dots so that, other people that you're leading who are going to come behind you can, they know who to go to help them connect those same dots. You're sort of trailblazing for them. And, I was wondering, as far as like, the world is not, it's not static.
No, it's not.
And especially too in the relocation industry, where we have visibility of so many different cultures. That includes business cultures. And so, and I wonder if you can maybe speak to that a little bit, as far as, you're learning in your culture how to be successful in your business, but because your business expands across borders, how has that affected your desire to continue learning?
Well, I'll tell you, that's what's kept me in this business for that 40 whatever years, because you get to learn something every day, as I said. And it's one of the things that you want to do is, and these are somewhat cliche, I don't mean to be cliche, but to surround yourself with people who have some expertises that you don't have. And that's okay, because I need a person that really knows IT and how to bring those innovations to life. And I need an individual that keeps up on all the immigration laws, because I can't. So, I'm sorry, I forgot the question.
No, it's just, our relocation, it opens you up to seeing how other businesses operate. And if you're going to be able to work with those other businesses, you have to be invested in learning.
Yes, you do. And the other thing that I wanted to add to that was you have to have the right network. It goes well beyond just the people that are in your sphere right here at work. It goes into our service partners. They have a wealth of knowledge. And anytime we go to another country, another city, we always meet up with them, and we'll go through the tours that the employees would go through that are relocating. We might visit some of the hospitals, or we might, we always try to pick up a few words, right? Because that's the polite thing to do. And that's the fun thing to do as well. But it's really having enough people, a big network. We have a global network filled with wonderful service partners that are always helping us learn. And when we don't know, we rely on them, and they carry it out.
And I feel like there's a principle hidden in there, because, every time we get to a point where we need to learn something new, and we take advantage of a service partner to learn that something new, or to ask for help when we need help. Yes. That's a business principle. It's recognizing the humility when you're better working together with somebody else, which is sort of the principal reason why we exist as a company. Because when, corporations, they don't want to manage it in-house, because there's other corporations who are like us, who they devote their whole business to understanding how to be the most efficient with relocation, right. And so, I guess the principle of partnership, it's recognizing what you do best and what other people do best, and working together.
That's exactly right. I agree with everything that you said. And being partners is very important through this whole process. And it's the only way to have successful moves. Yeah. Only way.
Which is kind of cool, because, with our world incorporating more and more of like AI, and where technology is changing, it gives me a lot of relief that, our business is still built on partnership at the end of the day. And, the AI tools are helping us do that job better, but they'll never replace us.
Well, one thing I've learned is you never say never. Okay. But I think it will be very hard to replace us, because there's a lot of empathy, a lot of emotion. There are things that are just, I think, hard to duplicate, because sometimes they're just even hard to control within ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know when I'm when I'm calling customer service, I'm always hitting the 0 as fast as I can.
Me too.
Oh, man. So this next quote by Alvin Toffler, it says, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn."
I like that quote. And for all of us who have been in the kind of the wake of COVID, the before, the during, and the after, we have had to learn to do that. You have to learn to say, we have to do this differently. We have to learn a new way. And sometimes it's really hard to unlearn because that's very familiar. It's very easy, but it doesn't work anymore. So if you want to be an innovative company, you really have to live by that.
Speaking to like global mobility managers in general, when they are trying to do their job well, how does this particular quote relate to them?
When they're trying to do their, well, I would relate it to them in that if I move you and I'm working with you, I learn about your personality. I learn about your behaviors. I learn how you like to communicate to make that all easier. I can't assume that the next person I move or talk to on the phone that day requires the same type of attention, right? So it's inherent within our work that we have to learn to not stick with one thing. It becomes change management in a way too, but you have to be flexible. You have to be able to move from one way to another.
Nice. And just sort of to piggyback off of that, so in an ever-changing business environment, how do you foster a culture of adaptability within your organization, and how has it contributed to the company's resilience?
So I think to become or to be adaptable, you're probably adaptable in some form or fashion. But again, going back to COVID, you had to figure out how to adapt quickly. You had to figure out how to bring your trusted resources together and say, how are we going to do this? You know, you prepare a disaster recovery policy, you prepare a business continuity policy, always with the thought that, well, we're never going to need this. We were lucky. We had them in place, and we did exercises every quarter to make sure we knew what to do. And when COVID hit and we realized this was here to stick around for a while, we started moving individuals out. We had all the technology we needed to do that. We were able to manage from a distance. For some managers, they hadn't had that experience yet, but they adapted. I mean, we found ways through things like Team and Zoom and some of those different virtual platforms. And we learned how to communicate. You always have to have your camera on because we want to see your eyes. We want to see your face because that's what you really miss when you're not all together. But being able to adapt to that without skipping a beat on your business, if you didn't learn it during COVID, you probably aren't going to learn it because you had to survive.
Mm-hmm. And so like making sure some of those things were in place before COVID ever hit. Mm-hmm. It sounds like before that you learned that you had to have some foresight.
Yes.
And then in the midst of it, you had to learn how to be adaptable. Yes. And so,
well, I think our work makes us adaptable already, but that took it to a whole new level, right? I mean, it was.
How's your company better right now after having gone through COVID? And kind of what do you expect from your company in the future?
I would say our company is stronger. That's one word, stronger. Mm-hmm. And we know the things that will work. We've invested in, we have much more automation than we had before. We ramped that up significantly so that we could If we didn't have employees available, we were able to still deliver the service. So being stronger, being even more flexible, using more automation, and just being an innovative company. And I guess when I go into innovation, I always think, you can introduce a lot of things that are innovative, but it takes a little while to introduce it with confidence and know that it's secure and know that it's going to meet your needs, or you've been able to plan out where it's not and cover for that, or get your notifications set up.
So the last quote I have was from Thomas Huxley, and it says, "Try to learn something about everything and everything about something." Why is that? And, a quote that we should pay attention to. What's the principle there?
Well, I think my mother knew Thomas Huxley. She always said, learn everything you can, read the magazines, read the newspapers. And I don't think she meant the People in the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
So it was read everything that you can. And one time, Kate, I was very fortunate. I had the two best mentors anybody could ever hope. That was my mom, who I worked with for 36 years in the relocation industry. And then it was Kate Dodge, who's our chairman. And I learned a lot from them. And Kate always said, her father said, I don't care if your job and your career is picking up tiddlywinks, as long as you do it better than anybody else. And I think that's just so important. And that's what really takes you to that next level. So I believe in it.
And I think too, one of the things that comes to mind when I hear that quote, again, trying to learn something about everything, for me, it's hard to understand people if you're not broadly aware of a lot of things, and especially in an industry that is so diverse, as relocation. If you don't have a drive to learn a lot about, or a little about a lot of things, then it's going to be hard for you to really make those cultural connections and do business with people who have different interests than you, and how to try to make those interests align, and then learning everything about something. That's what makes you valuable to those people. Is you specialize, you find something that you can specialize in, that you can become extremely valuable to another person. And so you get this sort of play between, I understand you and I can help you.
The other thing about learning a little bit about everything is that you never know when something I'll pick something absurd, in the PBR might not translate into your business. And I was at Worldwide ERC. This was 10, 15 years ago. But a speaker said, your next best idea will come from somewhere outside of your industry. And I've never forgotten that. And I look outside. That's why I read a lot of different articles. I look outside for the next best idea all the time.
Yeah. I think, or people too.
People too. That's right.
Yeah. It's amazing what diversity of skills can be applied elsewhere. And so I know that we've benefited as an organization from that as well.
Yes.
So I wanted to kind of put a bow on this by just talking about some stats from Pew Research related to lifelong learning, professional development. So Pew Research, they put out a survey, and they found that those who saw themselves as lifelong learners, that they were more likely than others to be personal learners. So basically to take action on learning, take the initiative themselves. And they saw that by a margin of 77% to 40%. And then of professional learners, which correlated to personal learners, those who took action by increasing their professional skills. They saw a 65%. 65% of those people saw an increase in their professional network. 47% saw that the training which they performed, that it helped advance them in their careers. 29% of those people saw that they got a new job, either within the same organization or outside the organization. Mm-hmm. And 27% of those people said that their continued learning helped them consider a different career path. So just kind of with those numbers, what does that make you think of?
I agree with that. I didn't know those statistics at all, so they're very interesting to hear. We don't have something that we are looking specifically at as far as lifelong learners, so I'll figure out how to put that into the interviewing process. I think intuitively you can see that sometimes in people by what they've done, what their accomplishments are, what they tell you about. And I like to think that we have quite a few individuals, if not all of them, because I'm a little bit partial, right? That love to learn or love to, not everybody in every position is going to be a lifelong learner that wants to continue to move into other positions. Some really take that caring position and working with those families who are going through one of the toughest things they'll go through, definitely not the toughest, but one of them. And they're leaving behind their, all of their, their backup, their support. And they're going to a new area where likely don't know anybody. And it takes a special person to work with those individuals and help that spouse or partner when they're crying on the other line because they don't know how they're going to communicate in that country, let alone how they're going to, find the groceries that they like to eat or what doctor am I going to go to. So lifelong learners are great. People who care and want to keep helping others are very important in our business as well.
And I wouldn't even say that those people aren't lifelong learners either. A lot of those people probably just have a vested interest in learning about other people and how to help other people.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
And some things you really can only learn via experience. And so by them sticking in that position, they're committed to learning how to help other people. And they just see doing it. They see the experience as the way that they're growing in that area. Mm-hmm. The good ones anyway, which are the ones you want to hire.
Yes. So. No, it's really good. I just didn't want to give the wrong impression of, the types of individuals, but that's very well stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy, for coming on to Relocation Leader. We really appreciate your investment into this program, and we hope that this can be a resource for all those who want to grow professionally and especially in global mobility. And we hope that you'll join us next time.